There, buddy. I'm all messed up. How we doing? Got everything pulled up in the right spot. Hey, Threads. How are you? Go ahead and do the leathers probably before I end up. Actually, no, the leathers should wait. I'll do the metallics and then the white. Tired, chilling, have a cold one, and finishing up a rat. That sounds exhilarating. I myself am tired as well. Because I got home from work about an hour ago. So I am attempting to decompress a little bit. Alright, probably want to go lowest to highest. Gotta figure out how I want to do this power sword exactly. I do my power swords a couple different ways. Hey, Mal. Yes, we are in Terminus Nights. Because I was looking over at my orcs and I was thinking, you know, they need some attention. But then I was like, if I'm going to do my orcs, then I have to do the Space Marines who are combating them. That was my process in making that decision. And then it occurred to me, you know, we need to do some more with Canine and break down a little bit more of that. Because my passing thought was randomly recorded a vid on your lunch break today. I saw it that you put something in the chat, but I haven't gotten to watch it yet. Yeah, so I kind of came to the conclusion that, I mean, I came up with 3 out of 4 of the planets in the Tannine cluster. And I'm sure we'll come up with more at some point. But the planet that I had was Sotellum, and that's where my orcs and Terminus Knights are on. So I figured that I would just dedicate myself a little more to strictly just that planet and what's going on there. From a writing aspect. D&D related. I think I saw you say that too. How's it performing off the bat? I didn't know if it would affect your channel, since your channel is kind of more in the Warhammer hobby algorithm. If switching back and forth would really affect anything. Hey Gino. Orly has like 5 views. Well, that sucks. I mean, I get it, because I've had videos that have definitely gotten single-digit views after 3 or 4 hours of work. I don't know if that would almost be worth putting on a separate channel. I mean, it could be having like a D&D specific channel. But from experience, that takes a little more work. Just got done watching movie 2 of the Gundam franchise with my buddy. I'm gonna relax a little bit, break off some supports from the minis. There you go. Made the mistake before running too many channels. This is a fresh start where I post everything to one place. I'll go be damned. Valid. Yeah, that's why I don't do gaming streams on a second channel. It's kind of simpler just to keep everything together. all those metallics. Skull. Imperialis. Probably the sword. Oh, I forgot. I was going to show you guys. I was going to wait until see if Warden showed up. But if he doesn't, that's fine. This came in the mail today. Kind of excited for it. You know, for whenever I get my Sacrifice and my Prime painted. Let's do the decorative metallics. Cool. Goes down to a stealth suit and begins typing face. I can't believe you would paint filthy Xenos. Listen. I'm not above it. Why the orcs are kind of fun too. And the more I get into orcs, the more I realize that their model line is kind of small. And it's really sad. Because they deserve more. Man, it's pretty epic. They were really good. I was actually listening to them a little more today while I was at work. Like, orcs are massive. They lost a lot this edition. Committing crimes to my lore accuracy? Why would you do this? Yeah, I don't know. I was just going through on GW's website and I was looking at the orc models that are available, and I just felt like there weren't that many. Like, it seems like most of the units are vehicles and named characters. Let's go ahead and get our whites taken care of. Where's my pretty wife at? I don't know. You tell me. She's cool and all, but doesn't paint. So how can she be the star? Painting stream, you gotta paint to view the star. I mean, I think that only goes if you're on camera. You guys have Turkey Hill ice cream? That's not one I'm familiar with. Trying to make sure I got my hammer the right direction. is the knee guard. Also white. Anyone was wondering. Several thin coats. As white is a pain. A sec before I need to put the next one on. The gas station, but I didn't know if they went all over the country with their ice cream. It's not one that I've ever seen. Alright, so for this power sword, I have 3 ways that I can do it. 3 different ways that I've tried. So, option 1 is sponging. This is how I've done most of them. And I think it looks pretty good. Option 2 is doing the detail lightning work. Or option 3, just doing the power source and the edges of the blade. Which do we think? 1, 2, or 3? Hi, Bozzy. Do you like Spearhead? I am not a huge AOS or Old World or Fantasy Warhammer fan. And that's sacrilege in a lot of circles, but I am a 30k and 40k guy. If I have the models, I would paint them because I think their models are awesome. But I'm more of a lore guy than anything, and the lore for all that just doesn't really interest me as much as Warhammer 40k or 30k. I like the first one personally, but 3 is cool. Can you show 2 again? 2 is just the detail lightning work. Going from the source. And then 3 is just the edges of the blade and the power source. And then 1 is just sponging. And I know Gino has an aversion to sponging, so he probably won't pick that. You like one? The sponging does usually come out looking really good. If you start from a white center and then you just get darker as you get to the edges. Full power. You said 3. I know you said 3. I'm just giving everyone an opportunity. Alright, I'm gonna lock it in, so everyone spam their number. 1, 2, or 3. Not an option, Mel. All are good but one. Fighter. I think I got it. Alright. 1 for 1, 2 for 3. What I really think? What do you really think, Bozzy? Oh, good, but I chose 1. 3 for the others. Alright, we'll go 3. We'll just do the edges. You chose 1 as well? Alright, well, I'm gonna null oil him. Whenever I'm done, you guys can lock in for real this time. use if the models belong to him. No, he just hates sponging. We can't convince him that it's a good method. Ruth. Even though in reality, it's a goated method. And it makes Grimdark models really pop. But whatever. Because, you know, he's painted way more models than I have. Why we pick the opposite of whatever he picks? Like the play on video with Space Marines, they painted them all up in different chapters, like in the game. I'm not familiar with that one. I watched some play on, but I don't really play the tabletop, so I don't watch channels that play the tabletop very often. If I do end up watching a channel that does play the tabletop, it'll just be to look at the models 90% of the time. Passive aggressive face versus obstinate Gino. What colors is the Marine? He's brown and blue. most of the time. I look at the report to see the armies, then go to another vid. More so for lists. Yeah, like I said, I don't play the tabletop, so lists don't really mean a whole lot to me. I mean, I organize my armies into coherent lists, but that's about the extent of it. I don't go in with the mindset that I'm going to play this and I'm going to beat the meta in any way. Just noticed your jump packs had a failure. Which ones are you printing? Are they special jump packs, or are they firstborn jump packs, or Assault Intercessor jump packs? Assault Intercessors go on your Phobos chest. Didn't the jump packs have massive raven wings? Or am I misremembering? This reprint only took an hour to print 5 guys. 2 jump packs, Raven Guards, and 3 normal jump packs. Finally done edge highlighting the Tau. Take a break and then finish up the bases. All I have left is Ghost Keel. What kind of bases did you put on them? A blue tinted snowy moon base. Okay. Very nice. Double checking a couple things. Try to have some consistency. Be adding the dry brush after the null nile is dry. Also trying to figure out why I didn't put any purity seals on him. I see it. I like it. Because he's an impure son of Dorn. Now, this was actually one of the very first models that I ever put together. So much so that when he first went together, he had, instead of a power sword, a Space Wolf Terminator Thunderhammer. That did not last. Need to figure out my own support settings. Okay. I think he's ready to get smacked with some highlights. Okay. Oh, that's some proper highlighting. Kind of hard to tell on the camera, but you can trust me. I mentioned this, but that brighter blue is very nice. Almost same shade as Celestial Lines. I kind of thought that a little bit. So that's kind of the reason I like it, because it kind of pays homage back to any blue Imperial Fists, like Crimson Fists or Celestial Lines. I'm really glad I went with it because it makes him much more visually interesting. going to go ahead. Up the sword. And I'll go ahead and do all the leathers and such. Best of you guys think if you could throw a baseball? I couldn't tell you that. Ground Space Marines are a rarity. Can't think of any besides the Knights off the top of my head. And that's kind of why I went with the color, because it is unique. And I didn't want them to potentially be mistaken for another chapter. I do have to verbally confirm that they are Imperial Fists. And much like their Black Templar brethren, they are only partially Codex compliant. They don't have 10 companies, they have 3 houses. Essentially, in a nutshell, they are if Dark Angels and Black Templars spawned a successor. Because they have 3 Knight houses that are organized into 900 Marines instead of 1,000. And they function much more as a knightly order than they do a 10 company Marine chapter. So they will most often deploy an entire house. There are 3 houses. They'll deploy an entire house to a conflict. So these guys with the white knee pads, they are House Shul. And so the entire house has been deployed to Tannine in order to help quell the orc threat. So that's 300 Marines. The Minotaurs brown. The Minotaurs are a bronze. Imagine not having your faction be if Black Templars and Templar Brotherhood Imperial Fist spawn a successor chapter. You can get Black Templar Imperial Fist squared. They're Dark Angel. Yeah, that's kind of how I would explain them. Okay, there's the power sword. Simple. so now I gotta do the leathers and the head. Start with the leathers. Now, Mal, I specifically left that particular Imperial Fist niche for you. Because you deserve it. All to yourself. All right, everyone, gotta go. Take care. Catch you later. We'll see you, Threads. Thanks for joining. Appreciate you. Why do they call me the Black Fister? I don't know if that's something I would go around telling people. These guys be Blood Angel successors? Since that's the color when blood dries. No, because I already have a Blood Angel successor. And they are much, much too stoic to be Blood Angels. In the way that I've written them. They're not emo enough. Blood Angels gotta be... The Blood Angels are super emo. They are extremely depressed. It's everyone's least favorite loyalist founder, minus salamanders, by a country mile. Is that including Chaos Legions? Oh, you did say loyalist. Never mind. Least favorite loyalists founder. I gotta go through them all in my head. Dark Angels. 3, 4, 5. Honestly, probably Space Wolves. Salamanders are such a meme. I do feel like they are one of those factions that gets a lot of attention outside of the universe, but in the universe it feels like they're barely even there. That's just my take. Like, I feel like they would be a lot cooler if they showed up more often with better writing. Because from what I've heard, most Salamander's books suck. And I don't really have an interest in them. I don't like goody two-shoes Space Marines. At least the way the community talks about them. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, the community gives them so much attention. But in lore, it just feels like they're barely there. It was wolves for a long time, but Manders have been on my nerves. I like 30k. Most armies I see in person are sick. The wholesome Chungus thing is cringe. Yeah, I'm not really a fan. 30k Manders are cool. 30k Space Wolves are cool. But once you move on from there, they kind of fall off. And then you have chapters like White Scars that get no attention whatsoever. Which honestly is kind of lore accurate. Off Legion were almost my second 40k army. They're also memed into a joke, I feel. At least they have good books. I have heard they have good books. I haven't read any of them, but I have heard good things about them. Little insight into what book or books I will be consuming next. The Fabius Bile trilogy is what I'm going to be consuming after I finish this damn Death Watch book. Legion is goated to the point I don't even hate the John Chromatic FPS. Trying to grab me a paint lesson mini from the Warhammer story. He said I gotta paint it white scar. My advice, be patient, keep it thin. For bad stuff about Citadel whites. I couldn't tell you the first thing about Citadel whites, but I know white in general sucks. If you really want it to look cool, do a gradient going up from dark gray, mid gray, light gray, and then white. If you have that option. Also hate how Blood Angels and Smurfs writing has them always the best at everything. Because Storm Seers should be the best Space Marine psychers. Yeah, Blood Angels, the only time that I've ever read Blood Angels flailing and dying is Devastation of Baal. And pretty much the whole reason for that book was, one, to bring all the chapters together, and then it introduced a lot of new chapters right before the Primaris chapters were introduced. And then at the end, Gilliman comes in and saves the day with the Primaris. Ultramarines, yes. Ultramarines suck. And I hate them. $40K Ultramarines. 30K Ultramarines are cool. 30K Ultramarines or 40K Ultramarines can suck it. Because they are not. Oh, wait. I was supposed to paint the hair. Whoops. Also a weirdo who likes the Marines to feel stretched thin and a constant struggle for attrition, which has basically been abandoned. I agree with you completely. I like books where that's the premise in general. And then 100% of the time, someone comes out of the blue and saves the day. So like that Pandarax book I was telling you about, the Grey Knights and the Dark Angels came in to push back the Black Legion. And it was good because the Catachans were failing miserably. But it made for a better story because everyone died except for the majority of the Space Marines. The named Space Marines. What color should his hair be? I just want to go black. Maybe we'll go dark brown. It should be a reality of the setting. Space Marines are rare and often die at a rate incongruous. How incredibly rare and hard to replicate they are. Yeah, and I was even having this thought today. That in the books, whenever I first got into the hobby, I was like, Space Marines are awesome, they're practically invincible, nothing can kill them. And then I started getting into the lore, and they die all the time, which makes them for better characters because they have stakes. It's like everybody else. They have slightly less stakes because they're genetically enhanced super soldiers, but I digress. I think that's why I like them so much, because I like the fact that they're super soldiers and they stand above everything else that the Imperium is, but at the same time, they are still human. And they have the capacity to have emotion, to have weakness. It just shows that they're not perfect, and that's why the majority of the reason that I despise Ultramarines. You shoot yourself at the enemy from the sky and bullet, your casualty rate is going to be above average. Yeah. Yep, that's accurate. I need to paint this knife handle too. It's the Witcher thing where they lie to themselves about not feeling fear or sadness because it helps them psychologically condition themselves. Yeah, exactly. And I was lied to too, because I fully believed when I was first getting into it that they actually couldn't feel emotion. And then you get into the good books and you realize that emotion is all they feel. Not one of them is a completely uncaring asshole. With the exception of, a few Marines Malevolent. Yeah, like I wake up and ask myself, how is Erebus feeling? What would Erebus do in this situation? Would Erebus be proud of me? Yes, precisely. He does look solid on camera. This is Speaker Hamus. Because they refer to their sergeants as speakers. That's dry. I'm gonna do some highlighting. Like the Lorax. I speak for the trees. Yes, precisely like the Lorax. But yeah, they have all sorts of names for their specialist ranks. Like, they refer to their librarians as scholars. And tech marines are machine scholars. A little overexposed. I'm gonna fix the exposure real quick. I do believe that my table is... my desk is a little overexposed. There. I like that. Much better. Can't see the highlights quite as well now, but now he's not blinding. What's the chaplain, an angry scholar? Let's see. I forget. I'm gonna pull up the lore doc. Oh, sorry. Librarians are high scholars. Apothecaries and tech marines are Medicae scholars and machine scholars. Didn't put a chaplain. I feel like a chaplain will just be a chaplain. And veterans are called elders. Chaplain is an angry scholar, which is went over. You're right, it's canon. Okay, I'm getting a service stud. I'm gonna do a little bit edge highlight on its hair. Make it a little more defined. Okay. Other than that, I think he's done. I probably should put a little normal on that knife. Okay. Now I think we're ready for the base. I don't think there's anything I'm forgetting. Nope, I think we're good. These bases usually take 2 coats. The desert bases. Sotelum happens to be a desert planet. front of the fan so it's dry. And after I finish him, I'm probably going to call it. He was all I really had planned. Mal, did you see what came in the mail today? Because Warden has forced me to have a problem. It will be added to the pile of shame. Yep, shame. Shame indeed. But that means more to fight the Reliquary Brotherhood. We'll see if and when I actually get to it, though. Well, there's no if. When. It may be 2 years from now. Because I'm kind of on an orc kick. Commandment. I have these storm boys over here. Need to be put together too. Trying to decide if I should make them Death Skulls or Evil Sons. See what I'm feeling. Because I've pretty much decided that this orc warband that I've joined the WA are going to be a combination of the two. Which is why I'm doing Evil Sons and Death Skulls. The nice thing about these is I actually have some orc bits to potentially get bash onto them. Maybe from the boys kit. I should get some knobs too, because I have extra heads from the Mega Knobs kit. And I could totally use bits off of that to slap onto some knobs. And they're a little mechy, but it would be fine because I have the Big Mac in Mega Armor, who is probably going to be the boss of this warband. Not yet. Few more seconds. And then I was thinking, you know, it'd be kind of be fun to run a narrative game with the Terminus Knights that I have and the orcs that I have. Just with the current number of points that I have for each of them right now. Because I only have 4 boys left before I've painted that entire squad. I've got, after him, 2 more intercessors, and then a squad of inceptors. So very close to finishing the fish, guys. That is an achievement, my friend. Do you have a personal record for how quickly you put out a certain number of points? Like painted and base and everything? Hey, Warden. Come to the conclusion you don't like rolling dice. I was wondering when you were going to show up. You have perfect timing because I'm almost done. Who was going to show you what came in the mail today. There were 2 winter breaks where I didn't work. First was due to COVID and no internships hiring, and the other was due to sickness. In both cases, I finished half an edition starter box, like 2 or 3 weeks of painting. Basically a full-time job. Finished losing my second game of Warhammer 40k. I'm just not having any fun. Hence why I don't play the tabletop. Yep, they just showed up today, so they will be the roster. But kind of been on an orc kick today. So I am painting Terminus Knight, who are currently in conflict with my orcs. And then I will be assembling my Storm Boys over there. Sure, you play with people who have the same goals, who are playing like a competitive sport, and you're there to have fun. Actually has fun doing it. Oh, messages are blending together. There to have fun, it usually won't work out. Literally cannot get any better at rolling dice when everything is up to luck. Just can't fathom. Actually has fun doing it. Issue is that somehow competitive has become the default the past few years. And I am the least competitive person on the planet. So if I were to ever play, it would be strictly narrative. I don't care about the meta. I don't care about coming out on top. I like to tell a good story with the models. That's why I write my own stuff. There he is. Speaker Hamus. Shit, I'm honestly thinking about selling my models and back to just paintball. Thing is that at least in 10th you can guarantee things with certain factions and combos. If the high variance nature issue, then it's up to you. There's fun to be had. I can spend hours on the field getting better, spend hours getting better at a video game. Getting better, you cannot get better at throwing dice. Yep, that's why I stick with the creative aspect of it rather than the competitive aspect, because I don't care. Anything that I would do would be strictly from a narrative aspect. Really, it was the 4 hours that it takes. Oof. That does sound quite miserable. So that 40K can be slow for me. It's a social thing since I have an in-person club. I'm not trying to get good. That's how I engage with hobbies. And that's a healthy way of doing it. I think, I mean, for me, from an outside perspective, knowing minimal information about the game, enough to be able to talk about it in a conversation. I'm sure, as with a lot of games where dice is involved and strategy, that there is just a learning curve. Because, like, when I first started playing D&D, the only reason that I know as much about D&D as I do now, or adapting D&D to things, is because I no-lifed it for about a year. I spent 4 hours painting. I get better at painting. 4 hours doing drills. I'm improving. 4 hours of anything. Getting better. Not waiting 4 hours to get F by dice roll. All the strategy in the world doesn't matter when you roll 31s. Yeah, that would be miserable. And I do think that the variation, like the randomization of it, is intimidating. Because you can get any result. It can be a great result, a bad result, or a mid result. And yeah, if you're playing competitively, you might as well. Because you're banking everything on chance. But not intimidating, frustrating. Yeah, I can see that. You like the high variance? It makes a legitimate strategy where you have to plan for success and failure. For you, if variance is a deal breaker. Overly complicated for some mega nerd stuff. It is complicated. That was one of the things that I liked about Kill Team, was it was very toned down. You only had between 5 and 10 models to worry about rather than a whole army's worth. But when we played our Kill Team game, it was relatively neck and neck most of the time. Get this gray done. I'm gonna slow way down, which may be a good thing, because it is possible to burn yourself out. I burned myself out whenever I first really started dedicating to painting, and now I just don't have time to paint, so I'm desperate for it. And then after I finish a model, I'm exhausted, but that's because I have an insane work schedule. I think I'm going to call it here, because I haven't gotten any time with my wife tonight, so I'd like to have a little bit of that. Because as soon as I got cleaned up after work, I jumped up here. Go. Pumping out models. Went through painting my first army. I did a similar thing where I stopped painting, collecting for like 2 years. I'm these warriors. Yeah, the warriors and the Storm Boys are going to be priority to put together next. And they will go into the prime pile. I've got a cookie sheet over here that is just full of models ready to be primed. And I haven't had time to do it. But I'm excited for it. Ready to work a little bit more on the youth arc cleansing. Okay. Not in it to roll dice. It will get to a point where I'll only get new nids. And when I got into the hobby, I was made well aware that there are 3 kinds of people. There's people who are into the hobby, into the lore, and into the game. And then there are a majority that are into all 3. But being a part of just one of those things, I don't see anything wrong with that. I'm into 2 out of 3 of those things. But all right, gents. The game people are trucks from Fallout 3. I'm gonna call it here. I don't think there's anybody new here, so I don't have to tell you Patreon and Instagram are a thing. So I will catch you all in the very next hobby stream.